Hello. That was planned pretty well, wasn't it? Hey everyone, welcome to Friday the 13th, 2024. It is time for another Friday Night Live draw with me, Phil Machi. Nice to meet you guys. Welcome. If you're new to this broadcast, here's what's happening. Every Friday I do roughly an hour live stream where I talk about animation and do a little bit of my own work on my own independent project. And you show up and hang out with me and ask me questions and say things that are on your mind. And sometimes I put those things up on the screen and I engage with you that way. It's a lot of fun. I like doing it every week. It's just a kind of way to, I don't know, engage with people. It's not something I started doing more regularly during the pandemic, and it was something that I grew quite fond of. And so this is sort of an outcropping of that, which is pretty great because, you know, now I get to do it and we don't have a pandemic around us. So that's always good. Anyway, how has your Friday been treating you, everybody? Tell me in the comments. It's been pretty good for me. Been doing some work today, a little bit of drawing, a little bit of day job stuff, a little bit of both of those things. I received recently. Oh, first of all, you may notice that I'm wearing a Brains shirt. This is a shirt that is based on a design I made years ago. You can get one of these on tpublic.com. That's where I have my t-shirt shop. But why am I pointing out this shirt design? Well, not because of the shirt, but because of the pin. This pin right here that glows in the dark. It's very new, and I haven't been sending any of them out yet because I'm still waiting. I'm still waiting on the card stocks. But I just, in the last 24 hours, received a tracking number for the card stocks that these will be attached to. So that means, I don't know, like Wednesday or Thursday of this coming week, I'm going to have these ready to send out. So if you're somebody that already pre-ordered one, you're going to be getting yours very soon. If you haven't pre-ordered one yet and you'd like to, just head over to philmachi.com and you'll see the link right there. It's pretty obvious. You'll be able to see it. Thank you so much to Rachel Meinke, who just gave me a heart on Facebook. I really appreciate that. Last week, I realized, maybe for the first time ever, I don't know what happened, but that I could roll over the information on my screen with my mouse, and it would tell me information about who was watching and like what location they were watching. And it doesn't say who's watching, but it says what platform they're watching from. But it also tells me if somebody gives me a thumbs up or a heart or something, it tells me where that came from. So if you feel like showing some love, I can now give you a shout out on camera, which is kind of a nice thing. Before I was just like, I assume this is from so-and-so, and it was ridiculous what I would say. Okay, so that's what's going on in my neck of the woods. We've got pin cards on the way. Being that it's Friday the 13th, I had a little bonus video go out today for those of you who like some of the content I make videos about. I did an unboxing video of some Ghostbusters themed enamel pins from Universal Studios Florida. I assume Florida, maybe it's from the California one, but either way, I got some pins in the mail, and I did a blind box unboxing video, and I launched that today. So if you feel like checking that out, it is available on my channel, so please do give it a look. In the meantime, what's going on with the cartoon? Well, I pretty much finished scene 23 this week. Now, if you're wondering what that means, if you don't know what scene 23 is, I've started scene 23 on August 10th. So it's now over a month that I have been working on this scene. it is essentially done, but upon completing the scene, I realized there was kind of a bit of a gap visually uh, that could use a little bit of sprucing up. So what I did was I decided I'm going to take a character from the previous scene and I'm going to have them show up also in this scene. So they're in both scenes back to back. It, of course, means I now have to make a character do another walk cycle. Uh, and and that character is a character I lovingly refer to as Mohawk Guy, because he is a guy who has a mohawk. That's the super complicated reasoning behind that. So let me show you what that looks like, because I did start working on it recently. I don't know if I'll get it done tonight, but I have enough. I have enough going here that I can probably get some decent progress made, and then maybe I'll finish it up in the next few days. So what I'm saying to you is, oh man, this is such a relief to be able to say this. I'm pretty sure that by next Friday's live stream, I will be on to scene 24. Now, that might sound like no big deal to you, but I've been on this scene for over a month, and so for me, even though I know it's been progressing, it has felt a little bit like running in quicksand, a little bit. Now, to be fair, most of my scenes tend to be about 2 to 4 seconds long. So how long is scene 23? Well, it's 15 seconds long. So I know that I'm not really, running in place. I'm not really being lazy or misusing my time. It's nothing like that. It's a very involved scene. It's a very long scene, relatively speaking, to other scenes. So anyway, sometimes that's what happens. Sometimes you gotta roll with it and give yourself time to do the things that matter. So since I'm working on that tonight, this is what I wanted to show you. So this is the background of scene 23. Okay, now part of what I don't remember where I heard this. I think it was from a Disney animator. It might have been on like a Blu-ray special features thing or something like that. Oh, Bayou Bomber is here. Hey, Bayou Bomber. Happy Friday the 13th to you, good individual. So I had once heard it said that setting up a proper background is similar to theater. And in theater, you want to create a space that looks like the only thing missing are the actors. Oh, thank you, Bayou Bomber. Bayou Bomber says background looks good. I appreciate that. So, and there is this little area here that looks like there's something missing there. There is a fan that, like a rotating, oscillating fan. It's not on this page because it's a separate entity that I actually animated separate and distinct from the background. But this is the background, and so the majority of the action in this scene takes place here, like right in this general area here. But because this scene has other like corners, like it has, areas back here, and it has like this area behind the countertop. I think it's a really good idea to explore spaces, and it creates a sense of depth and three-dimensionality. So in this scene, we have a character who starts off here, and then she kind of moves a little bit behind this box. So you can kind of see her, like her head peeking up behind this box. So she's behind the counter. And then we have our main character who actually comes in the screen from off camera. So he runs from here, and then he runs and then comes like closer and closer and closer to camera. He ends up here before he then turns around and looks over at the girl that's over that way, and he makes his way over here in front of the counter, and then he like talks to her for a little bit. Oops, like that. This is hard to do for me. And then he ends up standing more centrally located by the end of the scene. And then he kind of leans in toward her at the end. So it's a lot of play in this area. But because there's all these areas in the back and the sides, it gives your eye a chance to sort of like look back there and imagine what else could be going on. And what I'm going to be working on tonight, the reason why I'm showing you all this background stuff is because of what I'm working on tonight. I'm going to have a character who's standing here, and he is going to walk this way down the, you see how this this area right here, there's like an indentation. This is an aisle in this building. This is an aisle. So he's going to walk from here and go like this, and then he'll disappear behind this object, and you might be able to see a little bit of his head in between there, but his mohawk will probably stick up like this. But then he'll eventually disappear behind this central line right here that's going up and down. He'll walk behind that. So it's going to give you a real sense of depth because we've got characters exploring all the different parts of the background, and I think that's one of the things that a good background and I would say a good layout can do for you is it gives your characters somewhere to play and somewhere to go and direct their energy. So what does a Mohawk guy look like? Well, I can show you what he looks like from the back. This is my drawing where he's starting out. This is my keyframe of where he'll be starting. And if I align the two of these together like this, if you can kind of see the light behind there, it gives you an idea of where he's standing in the scene. And you can kind of see where he's going to be walking based off where he's standing. So he starts off there, and then he'll walk from here, going in this direction. And then he'll walk off camera, and then about 2 seconds later, from off screen, our main character will run into frame and into focus. So it's a pretty involved scene. In fact, I've been doing a lot of thinking about it. I think scene 23 and 22 and 21 all together are probably the most complicated part of this entire cartoon. And I went and added up all of their time signatures together. It's 30 seconds of the overall cartoon. The cartoon's going to be probably about, let's just ballpark it and say 6.5 minutes. So 30 seconds of that 6.5 minutes are the scenes that I just got done like wrapping up, which is pretty cool. None of these numbers are like vital that I stick to them necessarily. I think it's good to kind of know and to be able to speak to the different parts of what you're working on. I think it gives you a good sense of like placement. It helps you understand what you need to do next. It's also really fun at parties when someone asks you what the heck you do, and you have the ability to go into gobs of detail that they didn't ask for, and then they walk away from you going, that person knows what they're talking about, and I did not. Have you been testing your animations for each scene as you've been going along just to make sure they look good? Yes, it's an excellent question, and yes. I scan my drawings and bring them into my video editing software almost after every drawing, which is not necessary. I'm trying to get better about that. I'm actually trying to trust that I don't need to do that quite so frequently. And these Friday Night Live drawings, these sessions on YouTube, kind of are one of my ways of giving myself that exercise, because obviously I'm not scanning anything while I'm talking to you guys, and I'm not scanning anything in between the drawings I do here. I just kind of do a few drawings and I hope that they work. And then what usually happens the next day after a Friday Night Live stream is I scan everything in the morning, or usually at night. I'm a night owl. And then I go, man, I have to redo like half of that or all of that. So, but I'm trying to wean myself off of needing to scan the images immediately, just to give myself more confidence on my own skills. Another example of how I'm trying to do that is, yes, this is a light table. Let me just turn this around here. Yes, this is a light table. Yes, I use this light table quite a bit to illuminate and see what's behind the image. That being said, I am trying not to use it for the light aspect as often as I was using it. What I mean is, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get all my drawings on here and to flip like this and and make sure that like the image is where you can kind of see that right now. You can kind of see his leg kicking up, right? See that in the background, right? I'm trying to get good at doing that and not needing the light in order to make sure that I'm getting that. I'm just trying to use the act of flipping paper like this and go, yep, I can see that that's what's going on. That's what I need. That's great. And then to keep going from there. Why is there a reason why I'm trying to do that? I just think like any tool that we bring into our arsenal is a wonderful thing to have and can also become a crutch. And I just try to find out that if I ever feel like something is I'm relying on it a little too much, what I try to do is go, okay, well, let me try to use it less and see if I feel like there's a gap in my skills. And if I do sense like a little bit of uncertainty or uneasiness about not using a tool, then what I'll do is go, yep, there's definitely a weakness that I have to work on that, and I have to like, knock that weakness out. So anyway, thank you so much, Christy Kalin and Eden Kimbrough and Shane Campos. Oh, Shane Campos is here. Shane Campos is a pretty amazing cartoonist on Facebook. I don't know if he has a website or anything like that, but I do want to point out I follow Shane on Facebook. I think it was like in the last couple months that Shane and I started exchanging likes on each other's work on Facebook. And this is gonna sound weird. I don't want to sound too weird, but it's one of those things where like there's a bunch of people that I like their stuff on Facebook and they'll like mine, but it doesn't always register. I don't know if this is making any sense. Sometimes you're just like, yeah, okay, I like that picture, but like Shane is somebody that I'm looking at his work and I respect what he does. And so I'm always like, I want to make sure that I'm supporting him. And then he started doing that with me recently. I don't know if he feels similarly. I'm just throwing this out there. And so now whenever I get like any interaction from him back to me, I'm like, oh man, that's so freaking cool because I really respect that guy and the work that he does. Anyway, just throwing a little love Shane's way because he's really great. He does some pretty awesome cartoon work. Bayou Bomber says, and Bayou Bomber, I'm glad you're back. I know you weren't feeling well. I think you were saying last week that you were under the weather. So good to have you back. I find with my schoolwork, I will need to complete my scene before I test it. Then I'll take note of fixes, then make my next pass at the work. Interesting. That is I kind of like that you shared that. I'm just sharpening my pencil, by the way. Yes, this is how I sharpen my pencil, by the way. This is literally these are the tools I use. Something very calming and grounded to me about using analog tools. I obviously still use a computer to composite things. I'm not saying the computer can't be a tool. I do think we rely on it probably too much. And so keeping 1 foot in technology and 1 foot out of technology for me, I don't know. It's a really good space that I like to work in. Anyway, Bayou Bomber, I like that you're telling me about your process because I have a really good animation buddy who I hang out with all the time, and we will compare our processes, and it's interesting. Like we're both traditional animators, he and I, but he'll describe his approach to breaking down a sequence, and I'll tell him how I do it, and we've got very different approaches. But at the end of the day, you're both ending up with a cartoon. I just think that's super interesting how you can have all these different ways of doing something, but the goal is basically the same thing. Which means, is there really a right and wrong way to do things? You could debate that. I do think there are some more tried and true methods of things. I don't like saying that there's only one way to do something, but I do think that there are things that have been proven, and those are a good place to start. But if you develop your own pattern, like my friend, I'm not going to name his name just because I don't want to throw one under the bus or whatever. But one of the things he will tell me is, he'll go through all of the easy sequence or all the easy scenes in a piece, and in that way, by knocking out all the easy scenes, it's a way to sort of like build up momentum within himself and build some confidence. Like, look how many scenes I got, and I don't think that that's wrong. But if you're somebody who's been following my live streams for any period of time, you probably figured out that I actually go sequentially. I'm making this in order. I'm making the whole cartoon in order. The part about that that's a little bit dangerous, because you could ask, what's the big deal? Well, I have noticed that from where I started working on this cartoon a year ago, animation wise, to now, my skills are better now. And the way I look at a scene and break it down is a little bit differently now. So what I'm trying to prevent from happening, I don't want the cartoon to look like it was made by two different people. And when you have a really, really long project, I think that's one of the things you risk happening is you will grow as an artist, and then your work can start to feel possibly like it was, not unified in some way. Bayou Bomber says, I say whatever gets the job done right in the time given to you. You know what, Bayou Bomber? I can't argue with that. All right, so what am I doing right now? Well, I need Mohawk guy, I need him to walk off screen. And so what I did was I have my keyframe right here that I'm going to start working from that. I have this frame, which is not a smooth transition from this frame. I do need to have some in-betweens, but I'm not going to work on in-betweens tonight, I don't think. What I'm going to do is try to get some of the next stops on his walk in. Now, this frame here is just a head turn, so I actually don't really need the head turn to be in my in part of what I'm using tonight. So that frame can go over there, and we can worry about that later. It's just a head turn. Don't worry about it, folks. But what I do need to know is what my next pose is going to be. Now, thankfully, this is one of those times where I'm really happy and thankful that I can cheat off of myself. Now, what does cheat off of myself mean? Well, I already have this character doing a walk from left to right. Now, this character is going to be walking from right to left. It's a little bit different, but I can pull up on my computer here the other frames that I've already done, and I can just look at those for reference, and I can just keep looking at my screen and go, okay, I need it to look like that. And then I'll just come over here and use my brain and go, well, let's flip it around so it's the other leg, But I don't have to come up with it, right? I've already done the work. So that's really great. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull up this. Hey, Christy is over on Facebook. She said, so interesting to see your process. Thank you so much. Did I just get another heart? I did get another heart from Julia Maloney. Oh, Julia Maloney is she's awesome. She has a page on Facebook all about the frogs that she raises, and she's also an artist. She's a different kind of artist. She is somebody that recreates what she sees. She'll look at an image, a photograph, and then she'll recreate it in drawing form. But she'll do it so that it looks like a photograph, right? She'll draw, and the final result looks like it's a photo, but it's a drawing. So there's lots of different kinds of artists. Tiffany Nicole is here. Thanks for the heart. I appreciate that. Thanks for those of you that are coming in on YouTube. If you haven't already, please give this video a like on YouTube. I would really appreciate it. And you should totally subscribe to me, because I make videos every week. Why would you not want to subscribe to that? Anyway, what I'm doing right now while I'm looking away from this live stream is I'm trying to pull up some frames on my computer so I can have my reference. Drawing from reference is very important. I highly recommend drawing from reference. It doesn't mean you're copying necessarily. What it means is you're looking at something and you're going, oh, okay, I know that I'm trying to go for that. So I think that is, it gives your work more authenticity because it looks like it came from something. Okay, I found the frame that I want to start from on the walk cycle, which is great. So I'm going to keep that there on my screen, and then I'm going to go ahead and go to the next frame, and that'll be the one I use. Got it. Okay, fantastic. And he steps forward a little bit. Right. Okay, great. This is going to be good. And so I'm going to try to keep both things on screen at the same time. I'm going to try to keep y'all on screen, and I'm going to keep your comments visible on my right-hand side so I can still see if you're sending me comments. I'll be blocking out myself, but I can see the drawing I'm working on. I think this is good. We're going to go with this. Now, I did say I was going to use this drawing light table a little bit less, but when I'm making a registration mark, I have to turn the light on just to be sure where I'm putting it. I don't think I've talked about registration marks on this channel very much. If you're wondering what a registration mark is, you may have noticed that I've got these little plus signs. They're in various places. Well, a registration mark is just so that when I scan the drawing and I align it on the computer, I can make sure that the drawings are lining up the way that they did here. Because, believe it or not, even if you place everything the same way in your head anyway, on the scanner and then bring it into the computer, things still shift a little bit, even in like the tiniest amount. And that shift can change where your character goes and change the way the motion goes. So the registration mark is just another little tool. Obviously, it won't make its way into the final cartoon. It'll get erased. But it's basically like, you know how in grade school or whatever, middle school, when you had math problems and they said, show your work, this is my show your work line. And it won't make its way to the final cartoon, but it is there right now, and I do need it right now. So, okay, so we're going to go with that. Anyway, in the meantime, while I'm doing this, if you have any questions, if you're a curious onlooker, you're somebody that's maybe not a student or a professional animator, but you're somebody that is curious about this whole process, don't feel bad about asking me a question that might seem redundant or silly or rudimentary or anything like that, because I don't consider questions to be bad. If you're asking me a question, it means you have an interest in something, and I would very much like to help you understand whatever it is you're trying to understand. I'm an independent animator. I'm not somebody that, I haven't like spent my entire career in the industry, right? So I'm an independent. If you're wondering about my experience, have I done things professionally? Absolutely. And I'm treating this cartoon that I'm making right now, even though I'm not getting paid for it, I'm treating this cartoon as a professional project. I'm putting as much work into it as I see fit. I'm not trying to cut corners too much. I am trying to keep to a certain schedule, and by that I mean I've been averaging maybe 12 new seconds of animation every month. And does it matter if do I have to have 12 seconds? I don't. But a big project like this, it's harder to keep it going if you really, really slow down. The motivation to do something really, really massive, it becomes harder to maintain that if there's not already some progress that you can measure all the time. And by giving yourself progress that you can measure all the time, what you're doing is you're giving yourself little bits of motivation that make it easier to go, oh, cool, I can see this is moving. That makes me want to keep doing it. Okay, hopefully that answers. Well, no one really asked that question. I was answering a question that nobody asked. That seems kind of sad, but what are you gonna do? Okay, so now I know that his left leg is gonna go out. I know that's where that's going. So if I look over here, that means I'm gonna have to have his arm probably start to come out as well. Yeah, probably, but he's just starting to walk, so I don't want the arm to come out yet. So this character has kind of a he's very chill, and he's got a like kind of a mosey. It's not a regular walk. It's a little bit more like he has no particular place to be at any point in time. And so because of that, I kind of try to drag his features out more and make it so that he just looks like he's just arriving places. He's not necessarily, he's not in a hurry, I guess is what I'm trying to say. All right, so hopefully that answers that question. All right, so I got to figure out something that I've been noticing a lot also as I've been doing walk cycles is I may have said this before, so please forgive me if I'm repeating myself too much. But I've noticed that I think I did talk about this a couple weeks ago. If you're going to be placing arms and legs somewhere, make sure you start by placing the feet and the hands, because if you don't do that, it's like it becomes almost a temptation to make abnormally long appendages that don't really work for that character, because you're like, well, I don't know, guess it could go this way. But if you're like, no, I know the feet would land there, it wouldn't land somewhere else, I know that, then you're giving yourself like an end point where the arms and legs couldn't continue further than where the feet and the hands are. If that makes any sense, it makes sense to me. So, and really, that's what matters, right? Haha. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. This is, I'm creating a walk that is, yes, it is from right to left, but it is also going to be a bit of a diagonal, because the aisle he's walking down is not an exact left to right sort of experience. It's not identical. It's not like linear that way. It's kind of at an angle. And so what I'm trying to do right now is be a little bit cautious about where I'm putting my lines, because what I'm doing here will start to determine everything else I do in this walk. So I kind of feel like the first few images of a walk cycle are like the most critical, because you're sort of establishing the rules of what that walk is going to look like. And then once you've done it a few frames, then it's just about maintaining it and finding ways you can push it to make it more interesting. But these first couple of frames are probably going to take me a little bit of a second to figure out. Bayou Bomber says TV Paint. TV Paint, for those of you who don't know, is a animation program that I believe came out of Europe, and it's an industry program. TV Paint has a nice feature that aligns all our registration marks for you. It helps a lot when I'm importing my frames to the program. That is very helpful. That is very helpful. I have also noticed that there are times where, even though I get the registration marks lined up perfectly, sometimes I still need to move the character to where I didn't think they were going to go digitally. So I try to think of them as guidelines more than anything, and instead of like a hard and fast rule, I do try to think of them as guidelines. So I don't live and die by the registration marks, but they are something that I think are like good to have. If I trust my eye at the end of the day more than I trust the registration mark. So if I play the scene back and my character looks like something is a little bit wonky, then I give myself permission to move the character some more in a way that the registration marks would not have told me to do. And sometimes you get better motion that way, because you're like, oh, okay, I guess I had it somewhere. It needed to be somewhere else. Yeah. Okay, so Mohawk guy's got an interesting shape on his head. It's very geometric. A lot of the shapes in Retail Sunshine are very geometric. And so we're gonna, let's see if that's right. So he actually would be bringing his hair more toward camera. I think some of this stuff is tricky because I don't, even though I have like an example, you know, I don't have the exact example in front of me. I don't have this person in front of me where I can like ask them to turn around and I can see what's going on. A lot, you know, so a lot of it is based off of interpreted reality. I guess that's really what a lot of art is. It's a lot of interpreted reality. So right now I'm just sort of trying to get his basic form down. Let's get that. So yeah, there you go. All right, so I've got that, and then we're gonna have his back there, and then now does that look like what I want it to look like? That's the question. Do I feel like he is going where I want him to go? So I'm okay with the right foot. I'm sort of not okay with the left foot. Sort of. No, it's probably okay. But it looks like it's coming down a little bit. I actually don't like it. It's coming down a little bit too far. So if that's the case, then I'm going to have to adjust that a little bit. Let's see if we can get this going here. Let's see if I can get crank the music a little bit. It's so funny. You guys know that I've been like dealing with music issues. Okay, that's looking better. And it was like, I used this music, I think, last week, and I was like, okay, good, great. YouTube doesn't have a problem with my soundtrack anymore because it was provided by them. Well, what happened? Facebook then had a problem with the music I was using and saying that it was being muted in certain countries. And it's like, boy, you just can't win for losing with this stuff. It's enough to make me wish I was composing my own music just for live stream purposes. I'm sure people have done that. Just trying to figure out where I want his arm to go. Where do I want this arm to go? A lot of times I just feel like half the time I'm just sitting here making decisions and not really drawing. I'm just like trying to decide what do I really want the motion to be. But because he's just starting, I don't want to have his arm swinging wildly yet. So I think this is going to be what I do. I'm going to probably stick with this. And then we're going to have his other arm coming that way. Yeah, that works. I do like that. Okay. All right, so we're good. So we're good on that. Cool. All right, so I think I'm off to the races now. And I've got that. Now that I've got him starting his actual walk, actually, I'm going to adjust his hairline. Just sort of fix that a little bit. Yeah, 100%. Yep, let's get that fixed there. I've been trying to give myself poses and angles that are not my comfort zone because I think it's more interesting and because I think it'll make me better. So I've been picking things to draw that are not that would not have been my default thing to do when I was making the comics. Yes, in case you didn't know, this animation is based on the comic strip that I did for years. Not that the comic strip is done necessarily, but I'm not making comics right now. I'm doing this instead. Do I plan on cleaning up and coloring your animation digitally, or are you going to stick to traditional mediums? This was a very hard thing for me to decide. If you go to my channel, you'll see a 1-minute animated experiment that I did with these characters. That experiment was done traditionally. Like, I inked and colored all the frames. It was only 1 minute, and the animation was not as elaborate as this. And once I got started working on this, I realized that would be very potentially frustrating, because I found that the pens I used to ink with, which are the Sakura pens, the anime Sakura pens, people call them microns, I came to realize that those pens are pretty unreliable, and I found that the process was not like, it wasn't that the work was hard because it was hard work. It was that the work was hard because the pens were unreliable, and it just frustrated me. And it wasn't fun. It was, I don't mind doing hard work and spending hours doing hard work, but if the pens are constantly drying up on you and you have to push harder and harder and your hand is cramping, and you have to buy more and more pens because they keep drying up on you, or you have to go through some process where you disassemble the pen and refill it and potentially get ink everywhere and make a mess. Like, it was just obnoxious. And so this cartoon, I have decided I will ink and color digitally. So that's a big step for me. I never thought I would get to that point with this series, because part of the charm of the comics has always been that when I color the characters, I was using actual crayon. I was coloring them with crayon. I mean, like, pretty much everything I've done with the series, that's how I did it. And so I don't know how I'm going to approach that if I do it digitally. That's going to be interesting. But I can tell you this, I don't want to hate coloring, and I don't want to hate inking. So I'm probably going to do it digitally. That doesn't mean I have a tablet that I'm going to do it digitally with. I've never acclimated to coloring digitally. I tried it years ago and I didn't like it. I know the tools are a lot better now, but I also don't want to try to relearn new technology. Like, it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So whenever I color things, I still use a mouse. I know that's an insane thing to say, but it's the tool that I'm still comfortable with. So I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm leaning toward digitally. I heavily leaning toward it. Because here's the other reason why I'm saying that. I'm not getting a lot of drawing done tonight, and that's okay. It's been a very long week. The other reason I'm saying that is and not just me, other artists have said they feel this way too. There's an energy in a pencil drawing, and you tend to lose the energy when you ink over the drawing. Something is lost. If you're somebody who's watching this and you draw and you ink, then you know what I'm talking about. Something is lost in the transition from a pencil sketch to a final image. So that's always been really aggravating to me. A few months back, I was hired to do a cartoon for a commercial for somebody here in town. And I came up with a character named Lena Lone Star. You can see her on my channel. I did a real short cartoon. Excuse me. It's not colored, but it's inked. And that was a cartoon that I inked digitally. Now, it's not the best looking ink because I was rushed at a really rushed time frame, and the budget was such that they weren't going to extend my budget further. So, but that was my first time taking pencil drawings and inking them digitally, and I think the end result worked well enough that I could probably do a better job on this cartoon and get better results. So my point in telling you all of that is that was my way of trying it out, and it kind of worked. So I think that's what I'm going to do this time. As for the color, I'll have to figure it out. But I like it. I like the idea that if I color digitally and I screw up, I still have my cool pencil drawings. And I don't want to lose my cool pencil drawings. I was originally going to ink over the physical pencil drawings. Well, that would be terrible if you were to screw it up, because then you have to go back and remake the drawing, right? So that would be awful. In the olden days, when everything was analog, what they would do is they would take a piece of celluloid, which is like basically like a clear piece of, I don't know, like imagine paper if it was clear and plasticky, and they would put that over top, and then they would paint on the celluloid so that you wouldn't ruin the drawing. The drawing would be a guide to how you would then paint your character. Well, that's great, but then you're like, now you've got this giant stack of drawings, and you got a giant stack of celluloids, and it's just like the amount of stuff that you're creating physically is like more and more and more, right? So this is like a compromise for me. I think like having the physical drawings and then doing them on the computer digitally for color, I think that's a good compromise. That's where I'm leaning. So long-winded answer to your question, Bayou Bomber. Fair point. I used some Faber-Castell ink pens and Copic markers for an experimental animation recently. I loved it, but the problem for me would be cost of materials. Exactly. That's the other thing. Why would I go out and spend all this money on pens? And the crayons aren't a big deal, but the pens, those are expensive. They're like $3.99 a pen sometimes. And if it's dry pretty quickly, then you just wasted money. And you're wasting time if you have to go and try to manually refill the pens. It's just not really worth it. So that's where I'm at with that. Thanks to Dan Reba for giving this video a like. I appreciate that very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, I don't think anybody else has popped in since then. We're good. Okay, I'm not missing anybody. But if you're watching this video and you end up liking it and you're on Facebook, I can give you a shout out. All right, so we're good on this initial frame, which is great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at my reference drawing and see what my next. Okay, that's my next image. Sort of hitting the arrow key and moving my animation forward a little bit at a time, but I'm doing that in order to see where I'm going next. So I forgot to put his little goatee sticking out there. Mohawk guy has a little triangle point of a goatee. He's very much into metal. He's a very metal character. All right, so we're good there. All right, how many songs do I have left on this playlist? Oh, I got 2 more, right? Yeah, I got 2 more. Then I'll have to do a little loopy-loop. Okay, so with this one, we're going to go ahead and have him. Okay, this is his. I gotcha. I see where we're going. Let's see. Yeah. That's too much light. Dim that down a little bit. Karen Young, you missed a spot. Thanks. Thank you. Appreciate it. I don't know what spot I missed, but let's get that. Hey, Cryptid Critic, how you doing? Oh, I'm Phil. I'm drawing an animated cartoon of the characters that I've been making comic strips about since 2008. So this is going to be a roughly 6.5 minute animated short that I'm about 2 minutes into so far. And every Friday night I do a little bit more work live, and throughout the week I make more progress. But I just every week I do this little 1 hour check-in where I explain my process to people that are curious and show a little bit of work and get a little bit of work done. But mainly it's a way for me to just engage with people, and that's what this video is. It's probably more than what you were asking me, but you know, whatever I can do. But thank you for being here, everybody popping in right now. I appreciate it. You can kind of see a little bit of motion happening. Right now I'm drawing a character who's walking. You can kind of see a little bit of that happening here. Right? A little bit of that. You can kind of see that from where you are, right? So this character is going to be walking down an aisle at a store. And yeah, he's just a background character right now. Just a background character, but they're very important, those background characters. Grab my reference again. Nice. This is so exciting. You think hand-drawn animation is making a comeback? In a manner of speaking, I do. I've been passionate about hand-drawn animation my whole life, and I've been dabbling with it on and off. I'm just now like diving into it more, not because it's a trend, but because I just made the decision that it's what I wanted for so long. Supposedly Disney is bringing back some hand-drawn animation. Supposedly they have put together a part of their company dedicated to that right now. Supposedly it's being ran by Eric Goldberg. I don't know any of this stuff for reals. I'm just telling you stuff that I heard. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. How many sheets do you draw on at one time? I'm only drawing on one sheet at a time, Karen, but I keep the last few frames behind there so that I can check my work and make sure that like I can do this kind of a thing, and I can flip and make sure. I know that's not really you can't really see that because of how bright my lighting is, and that didn't help either, did it? But it's just so I can make sure that the motion is doing what I need it to do, without having to like scan it and check on the computer. I can just kind of check instantly like this. Oh, that was the same question you asked me, but 2 times in a row. Okay. All right. Let me get back to my reference there. Oh, Cryptid Critic says, that was my dream as a child, to animate for Disney till Princess and the Frog came out and was announced as the last 2D hand-drawn animation. My dream was crushed. Yeah, that was a bummer. And then after Princess and the Frog, they released Winnie the Pooh, which is technically the last one. But I think it might have been a situation where they were working on them simultaneously, and one was more finished than the other one, and they like flipped the release dates. But yeah, I think they're going to come back into it. Yeah. Well, just you're welcome to hang out with me every Friday night here, and we'll talk all about dreams getting crushed. It'll be great. No, I'm doing this as an independent. This is my own project, my own. These are my own characters. I hired actors. Let me lower the music just a little bit so I'm not yelling in my apartment. Love seeing people like you just doing your crap. Thank you so much. Yeah, this is my passion. This is my passion project. It's so funny when I meet people and I'll because like I keep the progress on my phone. So you know, if I ever get a moment, I feel like pulling up my progress either to show somebody or just to look at it when I'm like laying in bed, just to kind of like review what I have so far. Because I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but if I look at something on a different screen in a different like formula, um, thank you, Kringo, appreciate that. If I look at something on a different screen, like obviously I'm looking at this right now. This is a 10 field paper, so this is like a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper, right? And then I'll scan it and bring it onto my monitor. My monitor is like bigger than that. But when I put it onto my phone and I'll like watch the animation on my phone, it like looks a little bit different and I start seeing it differently. I don't know if that happens to you guys out there that are independent animators. So sometimes I like to put my work on my phone just so I can look at it at a different size screen, and then I start catching things maybe I didn't catch before. So that's a cool little trick. I don't know what the question was. Oh, but anyway, I'll show somebody. I'll have my phone on me, and I'll show somebody some progress that I've done, and they're like, "Oh, okay. So are you getting paid to do this? Is this for a company?" And I'm like, "No, this is just for me." And they're like, "It's just for you. What does that mean? Are you like?" And I'm like, "It means what I just said. It's just for me. I'm gonna release it, you know, in film festivals and things like that, but I'm not getting reimbursed. I mean, I'm doing this because I want to." Bayou Bomber is. Oh, I love that people are talking to each other at Cryptid Critic. Don't give up on animation just because Disney has. There's a lot of independent talent out there who want to hire animators. Yes, very true. And if I mentioned this recently, but I'm going to say to you guys again, if you haven't already, Aaron Blaze and Travis Blaze, yes, they are related. They're brothers. Both of them worked for Disney, and both of them now are independently doing their own videos on YouTube, and they do their own training and teaching. And I think I know Aaron sells courses online, but these guys used to work for Disney, and now they're taking that skill set and they're applying it to, you know, those of us out there that don't work for Disney, right? So there's a lot of really good resources. Check out Aaron Blaze. Check out Travis Blaze. There's other people that I'm forgetting their names right now, and I'm sorry for. I'll try to remember next time. But there are other people out there doing the same thing. I wouldn't say there's a lot of us, but there are other people that are pursuing this independently. And then you look at productions like Has Been Hotel, or look at, now they're not doing it on paper, but they are doing it traditionally digitally, meaning like 2D. So look at those guys. Actually, let me give you guys a little resource. I run a animation appreciation page on Facebook. It's at Stay STAY Tooners, TOONERS. So at Stay, or just facebook.com/Stay Tooners. If you go to that page, that's where I post like animation news and behind the scenes things. Sometimes I'll feature independent animators on there. But if you go there, I have a hashtag that I made called IndiePin, INDYPIN, IndiePin. If you look up hashtag IndiePin on Facebook, you'll see all the times that I've posted where I'm highlighting really good independent animation that's happening out there. And if you want to find some like crazy cool cartoon stuff you've never heard of before that you can find on YouTube for free, I've tagged it on there, and I would invite you to join the group and, you know, be involved in the conversations, but also be there to check out when I post information about other independent animators. So hopefully that's a helpful resource to you and you guys can get something out of that. But then, you know, if there's like a trailer for something that's going to come out on Netflix. I'll post that on there too. And there's a lot of really good resources out there. You just have to kind of know where to look. But what I like about this art form is like it's kind of a small industry. So once you know one person, that person kind of knows everybody else, and everybody's kind of heard of everybody within the industry. So, you know, once you're in, you're in, I think is kind of what I'm trying to say here. All right, I think I've got this pose good enough, I think. Let me just double check my reference and make sure I'm not crazy on that. No, I'm not crazy on that. So he's going to have his goatee sticking out a little further on that one. There we go. All right. And that little goatee is like a nice little guide for the eye to keep. Like when you're doing a character design, I think it's helpful to have little visual cues on different parts of the body. So that way when the character's moving around, if it's kind of hard to keep track of what part of their body is which, if you have different visual cues on different parts of their body, the brain can usually go, oh, yeah, I remember they had an earring. And now that I see that kind of thing flopping on their head, I know that's their earring. Now I can kind of know where their head is. So little things like that are really helpful, I think. If you're doing character design, I don't know if you guys want to talk about character design one of these nights. I mean, that can be a thing we talk about. Because my characters are mostly all designed already, I don't tend to talk about it, but I'm definitely down for talking about it. For sure. All right. I wanted to get a couple drawings done tonight, and I did. I usually get about 3, but you guys came at me with some good questions tonight. So I didn't know, and I never know how much time I'm going to have for drawing them for questions. Is this your retail comic strip? Yes, it is. These are my Retail Sunshine characters. Actually, let me grab the book real quick. For those of you who don't know, this book I released earlier this year. This is 15 years worth of my comic strips in one book. And Retail Sunshine is the name of the series, and Everything Must Go is the name of this book. But if you go to bookpeople.com and you search either my name or Retail Sunshine or Everything Must Go, any of those things, you'll find this. So bookpeople.com, and you can pick up a copy yourself. But this Mohawk guy character, he's from the comics. Let me see if I can like turn to a page and find him really quick. Wouldn't that be fun? Let's see. Do I know? He makes several appearances in the background. Oh, there he is. Look at that. I did find him. Okay. So, and this is like an older version of him. So, let me see if I can point. There he is in the background. There, that guy right there. So yeah. So these are all these characters spawned this animation. The comics came first. The animation came later. And I'm going to tell you something. I'm like so happy making this cartoon more than I was making the comic strips. I love comics. I'm not going to knock it, but I'm like really, really happy making the animation. There was part of me when I started this project where I was kicking myself and I was going, oh, why didn't I start animating more? I mean, I started years ago, but why didn't I stick with it? I didn't stick with, I'll just say this for another night, but let me just say, I don't have any regrets now because all the years I spent making the comics, because I told so many stories with the comics, it gave me a vocabulary, that meaning like now I have like a plethora of characters and a bunch of stories I've already made that now I can pull from in my head. So now when I'm doing the cartoon, the animation, I can like, oh, I remember when I did that one thing. I can maybe reference it. And so this has given me like fuel to be able to make the animated world richer. I don't have to think so hard about what's this world look like because I already know what the world looks like. I already made the world over the course of 15 years. So you know, I don't think any experience is a wasted experience if you know how to take it and like spin it to your advantage, is what I'm trying to say. If that makes sense. Only book people? No, not only book people. There's a couple other stores in town that carry my book. I just mentioned book people because they have an online store and you can order it from bookpeople.com. The other stores where my book is, you have to physically walk into the store. One of those stores is called Dragon's Lair Comics and Fantasy. So they have my book too, but they don't ship it out. You have to walk in. So I don't always mention them because I don't know where everybody who's watching this video is. They may not be in Austin. So Cryptid Critic says, thanks for sharing your experience and work with us tonight. I hate to leave, but I have to get up early. I'd love to hear you talk about character design. Hey, thank you for being here so much. I really appreciate it. Yes, I can do that next week. Please come back. It would be great to have you. Make sure you're subscribed and, do the thumbs up thing. I really appreciate that. But yeah, thanks for being here and for asking such good questions. I was going to leave, but this is so interesting. Oh, you didn't leave. No, you can go. I usually only do this for an hour, and I looked at the clock just now. It's an hour 11, so I'm over my time. I'm going to let you go to sleep, and I'm going to let everyone else go to sleep. And I was thinking earlier today about uploading a video that was maybe just talking about some of these things where I'm just like talking about them, and I can kind of make it more polished and not live stream. I don't know what you guys what do you like? Do you like the live stream formula? Do you want me to do a video where it's more like to the point and structured? I don't know. You can tell me. Hugs to you, Karen. Thanks so much. All right, everybody, thanks for being here tonight. I really appreciate that. Thanks for the likes from Johnny Steverson and Karen Young and Consuelo Herrera and Dan Reba and all you guys. Thanks so much for dropping the likes and the hearts. I really appreciate it. Live stream is fun. It is fun. You got it. See you next week. All right. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. And don't give up on animation. Just like Bayou Bomber was saying, don't give up on something just because the rest of the world seems to have given up on it. You know, who are they to say? Who are they? You say. You're the one who says. That's what I say. Yeah. All right. Well, you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks so much for being here. And yeah, maybe next week I'll be able to tell you about Scene 24. That would be really exciting. Woo! All right. I get excited by some arguably not as exciting to other people things, but they're exciting to me. So thanks for being here for that. Have a good night, guys.